Picking berries is on so many people's summer bucket list. Whether it's finding a patch of wild strawberries or blueberries or harvesting a haskap or sour cherry bush, today on Blue Sky, we are connecting with people who make berries their business. We'll also be joined by Chef Jenny Lessard, who will tell us some ways to use the juicy fruits. And in the second half of the show, we're going to take you to the U of S to learn about research being done to make haskap and Saskatoon berries even better. But as always, we always want to hear from you. Is berry picking part of your summer? What do you do with the fruits of your harvest? And have you figured out a way to use choke cherries? We'd also love to know if you have a patch or farm that we should check out. Call 1-800-716-2221 or email bluesky@cbc.ca. Jolie Blueberries is a fruit stand and produce stand that's located on the northwest side of Eyebrow on Highway 42. When our producer, Nicole Huck, messaged their Facebook page on Friday, Joel Bickert responded saying, sure, he could talk to us. But at the moment, he was currently hitchhiking from Medicine Hat to Eyebrow because his fruit truck broke down. Oh, and he only had 6% left on his phone battery. So we had to see how his weekend ended up. And we do have Joel from Jolie Blueberries Fruit Stand on the line now. Hi, Joel.
Hey, elbows up. Thanks for having me.
Sounds like you made it home okay.
I made it home okay. The truck didn't. So God bless my dad. He lent me his, and now we're back heading west off for some more.
So tell me, where are we reaching you today?
I pulled over in Midway, so I'm about an hour from the Okanagan where I get most of it. But elbows up, almost there.
So did you get your fruit truck sorted, or how are things working out for your stand?
Well, it's toast. Yeah, but it lasted a good 5 years. I knew this day was coming. It had a bad piston. We called it old piston because it was ticking away, and the mechanic said it could last one more trip. It could last an infinite amount of trips, and it lasted about 30 trips, and so I can't really be too sad, but have to figure out what I'm going to pull the trailer with next. The trailer's fine. It's just the pickup that blew up.
Okay. So how long have you been involved with blueberries and produce stands?
Well, this is my 6th year on my own shingle under Jolie Blueberries. I worked for about 3 years before that for another guy and spent a couple summers picking out in the Okanagan. But I guess that's cherries. This is a berry episode. That's cherries, so never mind.
So cherries are not a berry, or are cherries a berry?
Cherries are not a berry as far as I know, but someone might want to fact check me on that one. Elbows up.
I am not a expert on this. When it comes to knowing the difference between berries and not berries and cherries, I just am an expert when it comes to tasting them. What do you love about blueberries?
Oh boy, what's not to love? Well, they are. Folks often say they're the healthiest fruit pound for pound, just loaded with antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. They help with sugar cravings, and they're just so darn sweet. But now it's going to sound like I'm trying to sell you a bushel, but they're also on top of that, they're like one of the easiest to freeze. They got no pit, so you really don't have to do anything. So you just load right up. I tend to load up all summer long and shove them in my freezer. You just pull them out and they're good to go. Not like other things that require a little more effort. The convenience and the sweetness, I guess. They're the sweetest berry, I'd say, for sure.
What's the best time to actually get fresh blueberries?
Oh, their season could stand to be a little longer. We just passed it, so I won't be picking up any blueberries this time. But early July, right around Canada Day, right along with cherries for about a couple weeks. Now I would say, I'm no expert on the local grown low bush berries, but I think it's about the same. Like early July is the best berry.
So you sell more than blueberries at your stand. Does the majority of your produce come from the Okanagan?
Yeah, most all of it. The blueberries themselves, I get shipped out from the Fraser Valley out in Abbotsford. I think they grow a few in the Okanagan, but they got other berries. Like this trip, I am picking up some Okanagan-grown strawberries, which are nice. But yeah, everything comes from the Okanagan pretty much, just south of Oliver. And then I try and link up with whoever I can closer to home for the veggies and that side of produce.
What is the shelf life like for berries?
Well, my trip, if I bring a load home, if I'm still sitting there within about 10 to 14 days, the price starts getting reduced pretty fast, and we got to get rid of it pretty fast. Anything past 2 weeks, I want it out of the truck, or you could tell it's starting to get a little soft.
If you have blueberries that haven't sold and are getting past their prime, ones that maybe you haven't sold, what do you do with them?
Oh, well, when the fruit goes elbows down, well, first we start knocking down the price a little bit, and then before you know it, we're selling them for next to nothing. Then we are giving them away for free. Of course, don't get your hopes up if you see free cherries on the side of the road. They're not going to look that pretty. And when no one finally takes them, they're off to my buddy's pig farm.
Oh, okay. So they do get used in some other way. You're not just tossing them.
No. Pigs will eat anything. And chickens will eat almost anything. So as soon as the sweet old ladies in town have had their fill of sorting through the bad ones to make their pies, then it's on to the livestock.
Joel, what is the best produce to buy this time of year, in your opinion? Berries or otherwise? What's the best thing to get right now?
Well, I'm pretty excited about these Okanagan strawberries, and I hope any of my customers listening can hear that I've got some on the way, but everybody's waiting right now for the Freestone peach. This will be the first load with the Cresthaven Freestone. They're the biggest, juiciest, sweetest thing that's available right now, and Bartlett pears aren't too far behind, but yeah, this is peach season right now.
Have you seen an increase in people who are trying to buy more local or more Canadian fruit and produce?
A little bit, yeah, I suppose. I mean, last year there was no stone fruits out of the Okanagan whatsoever. We had no peaches, we had no nectarines or apricots, and so we had to get it all from the States. And so then it was triple the price, and it was not Canadian, and no one was really happy, including myself. But this year, especially with the crazy stuff going on at the border and everything, and, elbows up, it's nice to have a good Canadian crop. And, I think people are trying to spend a little more on the Canadian side, elbows up.
If you had to pick one berry, Joel, before we let you go, what's your favorite?
Oh, come on. I named my entire business after it. You don't even have to ask, Sam. I love the blueberry.
Oh, Joel, well, thanks for sharing your process and how this all works for you and your customers. Appreciate your time today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Elbows up.
All right. That is Joel Bickert with Jolie Blueberries Fruit Stand and Produce Stand. He's located northwest of Eyebrow along Highway 42, but we caught up with him about an hour out of the Okanagan. Before we go to our next guest, let's go to the phones because we do want to hear from you today. Carol is on the line in Muskeg Lake. Carol, I hear you have an idea of what to do with choke cherries.
Hi, good afternoon. It is something that I grew up with in our community where you pick the choke cherries. And if you can pick the choke cherries after that bit of a hint of a frost, you get them all together and then you get, in the old days, you get a huge stone and you'd pound them, pit and all. And then you'd throw them into a pan and cook them on the stove with a bit of lard and stir it all up, and you'd can it. And then come the winter time, you'd have a treat where you'd have fresh bannock, and you would open up a jar and put it on almost like jam. But, of course, because you had the pit and that, you didn't eat too much, but it's a delicacy in I think a lot of First Nations communities. That's what we do with the choke cherries. I didn't grow up with mom making choke cherry syrup, but my uncle does. That's his treat. So that's one or two ways that I've seen how to make use of a choke cherry. I mean, of course, you could eat it raw, but your mouth gets pretty dry.
They're pretty tart.
But after that first hint of a frost, so delicious.
It just sweetens them up, hey?
Yeah, and at my place, if you can beat the bear to them, we're in luck this year so far. They're just hanging over, on the trees, and the bear hasn't come around, so it's a big bumper crop this year. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Thanks.
I love that. Thanks, Carol. Carol in Muskeg Lake. And a clarification from Jay. No, a cherry is not a berry. It is specifically classified as a drupe or a stone fruit, which is characterized by a fleshy outer layer and a hard pit in the center. Berries have multiple seeds within their flesh. So now we know a cherry is not a berry, even though they're red and they're very delicious and they make lovely jam. And speaking of things that we can make with berries, Jenny Lessard is a Métis chef and a culinary consultant, and she has been dreaming up creative ways of cooking with berries. She is on the line now. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Sam.
So as you're listening to Joel and his elbows up and his blueberries, before we get started, everyone has a favorite berry. What is your favorite?
I knew you were going to ask this, and I don't have a favorite berry, nor do I have a favorite child. I think if I go back into my earliest memories of berries, it would be the blueberry. I was raised first at Besnard Lake and then north of Larange at Lamp Lake, and blueberries were the berry that was most prevalent there in the boreal forest. My mom tells a story of taking my sister and I blueberry picking when I was still in a little bassinet, I guess they called them in the 70s, little plastic thing. It's probably not safe anymore. And they set me on a rock and I was just shoving berries in my mouth as far as my little chubby arms could reach. And when we left, we forgot my baby bottle. So the story goes that they came back and the bottle was gone. And I always thought that a baby bear had my baby bottle.
Oh, that's really cute.
So I think I equate blueberries with my childhood and just being able to go outside our house and pick and pick and pick and pick. And then my brother Andrew Ross and I, we used to have a little cooking show that we called LC Living, Low Cal Living, because it was the 80s. And I'd pick berries and then we'd mix them with lake mint, so the mint that grows around the northern lakes, and a banana, and that was our smoothie. So, and I think a little bit of cocoa powder too.
That actually sounds really good.
It is really good. You should try it. It's delicious.
So berry picking has played a big role in your life then?
It has. Yeah, I measure my seasons in what berry is ripe. So when was listening to Carol chat about the chokecherry mash with the seeds, it's really interesting because chokecherries I used to pick around my birthday, which if anyone wants to send me a card or a gift, it's September 16th. But now, I mean, I'm living further south. I'm in Lumsden in the Capel Valley, but they never used to be ready before like the last week in August, from what I can remember. So climate change is playing a huge part in when we access our berries. And if I'm away traveling, sometimes I'll miss a certain berry, like I'll miss Saskatoon season altogether, or chokecherries, which is heartbreaking. And I'm also thinking of all the people who are evacuated, or, you know, so many hectares of forest that's burnt and their traditional berry picking areas are gone, at least for now. But it really, you know, you get to really love those places.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to foraging now as an adult, you're not sitting in a bassinet stuffing your face with blueberries, or maybe you are, and that's your prerogative. But what's your favorite thing to go look for if you're just out and about? Are you looking for something specific, or are you looking to see what you can find because you know what you can eat and what you can't?
Yes, now I know, and I'll be watching. So while I'm picking Saskatoons, I'm looking at the chokecherries. And, you know, just because a couple weeks ago they were starting to darken up, but you taste it. And like Carol said, you want to wait until there's a few more cool evenings to let those sugars develop. So you're always kind of looking for the next thing while you're harvesting one thing. But you do want to really focus on that one crop. So when I approach a berry patch, I thank it, I give it an offering. I try to tell it what I'm going to use it for. So if I know that I'm harvesting for a certain group or workshop or a friend, I'll mention that. And I try to just give my focus to that crop that I'm picking. So, you know, when you're hanging out with friends and you want to focus on them, not being thinking about the next gathering you're going to.
So how much of your berry picking goes into your mouth and how much gets saved for later?
A lot of it goes into my mouth, especially when it's blueberries. Like, honestly, I don't have a lot of recipes for blueberries because, like Joel was saying, they're just best eaten on their own. They're so easy. You don't have to, you can't really better them. They're just so delicious just to eat.
Blueberries in a milkshake are my favorite thing. And I don't know if it goes back to childhood or what it is, that is the one time that I like blueberries more than anything else, and that is in a milkshake. And I don't know
that's like
why.
2 ingredients.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but a blueberry milkshake is my happy place. And I can't explain why, but it is my favorite berry in a milkshake.
Maybe you had it when you were a toddler, sitting in your bed.
It's entirely possible. In the 80s, there were lots of things they gave us that maybe we shouldn't have had as babies, so it's entirely possible.
Spit those pits out. You'll be fine.
But do you save them for later? Like, are there some that you will harvest and that go into the freezer for projects down the road?
Yes, absolutely. And I never sell berries. So I'm very happy that some people do, especially, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of my projects if it wasn't for, I'm going to name names, Prairie Berries from Keeler, Saskatchewan. They have a major operation. They sell dried berries, freeze-dried Saskatoon berry powder, which is kind of like nature's Metamucil. If you're traveling, you might want to stop by Saskmade Marketplace or a store like that and pick them up.
Is it powdered Saskatoon berries?
It's powdered. It's from, I think, the pumice. Like, it's a byproduct of what maybe one of their purees or one of their jams.
But does it taste like Saskatoons?
It tastes like Saskatoons, and I've actually used it in Play-Doh for children. When I was doing a workshop for mums and kids, we wanted to keep them busy, so we made a beet powder Play-Doh and then a Saskatoon berry powder using that dried. But yeah, so anyway, I do harvest. So I actually put out a call on Instagram a few weeks ago when I was picking Saskatoons and asked if anybody who is, stuck in the city or unable, maybe mobility issues or whatever, to harvest, if they wanted to make a trade or I could just gift it to them. And I think I had like 7 people reach out. So I have Saskatoon berries in my freezer with labels that say, "Hello, my name is," and then the person's name to
their Instagram handle.
Exactly. So I haven't had time to deliver those all, but yeah, I do that. And then one thing that when you're saving them, it's good to freeze them in a single layer. So you're not, excavating, they're trying to, crumble up a big blueberry clump in January. So freeze them in a single layer, then put them in a bag or a pail. You can puree and freeze and put them in ice cube trays for smoothies. You probably all know that, but it's so good. And I just learned for choke cherries, I use my French press, like my coffee press, to get the juice out. I used to have my grandmother's, 1940s juicer with, you put it on the stand and there's a wooden thing and it's like a cone shape. And I forgot it in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. So that's a whole other story. But yeah, the French press. So you just cook down the berries with a little bit of sugar or a lot, depending on what you're going to do with it. And then pour it very carefully. You don't want to fill it up too high, about 3/4 full. And then just push that nozzle down, that handle down, and it's no fuss, no muss, Sam.
Okay, I have to ask you this because I saw a post on the weekend from a friend of mine who was mucking around with choke cherries, and then they figured out that the pits are poisonous, or that they Googled that the pits are poisonous in choke cherries. But then I hear, from Carol, who says that she's mashing the pits all together and eating them. Are the pits in choke cherries poisonous? Is that problematic?
They have a compound that converts to cyanide when we eat them, but cooking gets rid of that toxin. And even if you eat the berries raw, it would take, please do not quote me on this, but it would probably take like a few handfuls of just absolute raw choke cherries. So choke cherry mash, which I don't know the Cree name for it, but my Aunt Ruth used to make that and can it. And yeah, one of my uncles eventually said, "This is poisonous." And she's like, "Well, you've been eating it for 30 years.
Well, I just wanted to clarify that. So if it's cooked, you should be fine.
If it's cooked, and it was used in to dry and make cakes that you could then kind of take around with you. But I think there's a lot of medicinal compounds in the seeds too. But yes, it does have a cyanide like. So I don't use it for the public. If anybody wants to take some berries and use it for ceremonies or gatherings, then they can kind of do that mashing themselves. But it's really like an almondy flavor. And I think my aunt made it more like a jam, like probably about 1/3 stones and 1/3 tooth, like the rest of it, just the juice. But yeah, I love using choke cherries in a sweet and sour sauce too, with bison meat. Incredible. So just sub out the pineapple juice and the pineapples for choke cherry juice. It's amazing.
Are you jarring your choke cherry juice when you're processing it?
I'm jarring
Canning,
it,
I guess, is the proper word.
Yeah, I'm not a good canner. because I don't know. I'm just not. It's a science, and I'm a little more artsy. So I put it in jars just to use it, keep it for like a week or so. But I freeze it. I usually just freeze the berries
Okay.
and then bake it as I need.
My favorite berry? I would have to say Saskatoons. I mean, we're in Saskatchewan.
As
and
a
I
tart,
find
as a pie, as an
as
ice cream.
everything, as by the handful. Yeah, no, I love them all. And yeah, definitely Saskatoons, raspberries. I don't find I have very good luck with strawberries and blueberries here in Saskatchewan, but I do like buying them this time of year. Love a good choke cherry. I'm listening intently to all the choke cherry uses. I love choke cherry jelly. I've never done much with it myself, but big fan of strawberry rhubarb jam. And I heard this morning you
Oh,
are
yes.
too.
Oh, my grandma used to make it, and it's nostalgia for me now. But the thicker, the
Yeah.
better. Like, I need to see the
On
strings of
ice
rhubarb in it,
cream.
and then put it on ice cream. That, or like if you're not allergic to peanut butter, like thick peanut butter on toast with strawberry rhubarb jam. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's my
Takes
childhood.
me back
That's
with like my
childhood.
grandma's biscuits. Oh, this show makes me hungry. I
It is
love
lunchtime. Thanks, Jesse.
it. You bet.
All right. Today, we are talking all about the business of berries. And my guest right now is Jenny Lessard. She's a Métis chef. She's joining us from Lumsden. And yes, my berry of choice in general is the strawberry rhubarb combo. But that's my childhood. That's my grandma's garden. And that's what I associate it with. We didn't write the recipe down because grandma didn't follow a recipe. And that is probably my biggest regret, because store-bought or even just from other orchards, it's never the same. Jenny, let's talk about accoutrements. Let's talk about herbs and meat and the things that go well with berries.
Okay. I find that blueberries love basil. So
Okay.
I love mixing blueberries and basil in a vinaigrette, in a sauce. They
In a
also
cocktail?
in a cocktail, sure. They also go really well with muskeg tea, because they grow near muskeg tea, Labrador tea, and lake mint and lemon. I love lemon zest with blueberries. It just seems to go so well. Low bush cranberries, which grew kind of around where I grew up. Also lingonberries. I love pairing them with tomato. So I love a juniper cranberry, low bush cranberry tomato pizza sauce.
What
on
is a
banana crust.
lingonberry?
Oh,
Tell me about what is a lingonberry?
lingonberry. So it's a low bush cranberry. I think it's also sometimes called a mountain berry.
Oh, lingonberry.
Yeah, they're very, 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 like you almost have to crawl around on the moss to get them. And they're this gorgeous. I think they're kind of cousins to the partridge berry on the East Coast. They're very, very tart. And my mom always said, look for the ones with the star on the bottom. Those are the ones that are edible, because there's a kind of a lookalike berry that isn't so edible. But
By not edible, you mean poisonous?
well, no, because I've eaten them, but but they're later, so they're definitely after the frost, and you can pick them in northern Saskatchewan kind of well into early October. They're
Okay.
so good. I love them so much. Pin cherries, I like to, when I was a kid, pretend that I had cut my arm and put it on my, isn't that terrible? But they're perfect fake blood. Choke cherries kind of talk about that, but they love being paired with oregano and Italian seasonings.
Oh.
Goes so well. I love it. A sour or cherry oregano. I did the cherry berry thing too for choke cherries. I kind of had a Googling spree, and I think, yeah, they're actually a fruit, not a berry, but I did not know that until yesterday. Saskatoons, I love pairing them with thyme. So Saskatoon thyme vinaigrette that my friend Heather Becker-Schulte, chef, used to make this incredible Saskatoon berry and blueberry. She kind of alternated with thyme. It's just amazing.
Could you put
Sea
that on
buckthorn.
something like a pork chop?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Saskatoons pair well with apples because they kind of have that appley, almondy taste. So if you have a sparing amount of Saskatoons, feel free to add some even crab apples to them. They go really well together. Sea buckthorn berries, I'm not sure if we're going to talk about that when we visit the U of S, but there's an incredible woman named Betty Forbes who started in 1998, her dad planted a sea buckthorn orchard near Indian Head, and they're so high in vitamin C. I call them like a prairie creamsicle. They taste like oranges. They're bright orange. They grow on a big, like hard to pick branch with thorns. So they actually harvest the branches, put them in a reefer truck at minus 18 degrees, and then go in their snowsuits, the workers, and harvest
No
the berries
way.
off the branches. But they're just incredible. And you can use the leaves for tea. I love making a sea buckthorn berry borscht with those. And they go well with dill. So those are just a few of the kind of the pairings or the nice little marriages of berries and herbs and seasonings.
So what's for lunch today, Jenny?
Well, right now I'm drinking a choke cherry sparkler and probably going back out into the berry patch and just eating the berries minus the seeds.
Do you have a berry patch at your place out there in Lumsden?
Just out behind Nugent Studios where we live nearby, they're just hanging like grapes. But I have a lot of people that know that I harvest, so they've very kindly offered me to pick at their places. So and you don't want to overpick because our bird friends need those berries too. So never pick more than half, I would say, or even less. Just pick what you need. So yes, there are some near my house, but I'm almost done in that area. Then I'll have to move on.
Jenny, thank you so much for sharing this with us. I know that you have, I feel like you have another thing you have to get to this afternoon. So I don't want to overpick your brain like we would with a bush, but thank you so much for sharing this with us. I now am thinking about all the things I can do with berries after the show is done.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me. And we'll maybe come out to the berry patch if you want to.
I may do that. I just may do that. And I'll learn about all these berries that I can and can't eat.
Amazing. Thanks for having me on, Sam.
Of course. That's Jenny Lessard. She's a Métis chef and culinary consultant, and she joins us from her place in Lumsden. Let's read some of your emails before we get to our next guest. Susan writes, for years when I lived in Lumsden, I would pick bunches of choke cherries after the first frost. Mix equal parts of berries, sugar, and vodka and shake well. Leave for 2 to 3 months, shaking till the sugar is all dissolved. It makes a wonderful cordial that is great for cooking wild meats, bisons, or tougher beef roasts. You can also serve it over ice with or without soda. And Peggy says, in 1996, I resigned my job with no idea if I would have a paycheck. At that time, a company in Saskatoon started tissue culture production of Saskatoons. I ordered 4 varieties of seedlings. The new company delivered half my order in 96, with the other half delivered in the spring of 97. To make a long story short, I never missed a paycheck until I retired in 2017. However, our Saskatoon patch has provided beautiful berries to our neighbors and friends for many years. This year was amazing, giving us 5 weeks of picking and a freezer full to allow us to enjoy the prairie flavor throughout the winter. Plain, pies, crisps, and homemade ice cream, to name a few ways we enjoy the annual harvest. We pick and visit with berry pickers throughout the season and our neighbors to help maintain the patch for the next season. We would love to hear from you. If you have a love of berries, a patch we should visit, a secret berry hack or recipe, you can give us a call, 1-800-716-2221, or email us bluesky@cbc.ca. Now let's go to the University of Saskatchewan. That is where researchers are trying to make berries even better. Anjay Shvara is an assistant professor of fruit, and fruit breeder. Not an assistant professor of fruit at the University of Saskatchewan. He is from Slovenia and moved to Saskatoon earlier this year to work with the U of S. Welcome to Blue Sky.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
So what brought you to Saskatoon in the first place?
I mean, I'm a researcher, so I research fruit. I've been researching apples for a little less than 10 years. And yeah, U of S had this amazing job opening as an assistant professor, as a head of the fruit program and the breeding program over here. And yeah, I think the opportunity brought me over here. Yeah.
So haskaps seem to be having a bit of a moment. That's a big deal over at the U of S. First of all, for people who are not familiar with haskaps, or they've seen the word but don't know what it means, what is a haskap and how is the U of S involved in the development?
I mean, haskap is a type of a berry fruit. It looks kind of similar to blueberry, but it has a different shape. It also grows in a similar way on a bush. The flavor is somewhat similar, but yeah, it's a different family. So it's not a very related fruit to blueberries. So it's a different fruit. I think a good person to talk to about haskap berries would be Bob Bors, the person who really developed those berries to actually the cultivars that we can have nowadays from the U of S, and those are probably the most advanced cultivars or varieties that you can find in the world, and they're being sold all over the world.
So it is something that is being sort of developed and grown out of Saskatoon, correct?
I mean, the history probably of haskaps has gone way back. You could find haskaps in Russia, in Eurasia. They are native to many places in the world. They are called honeysuckle. They are part of the honeysuckles, and those are oftentimes ornamental plants, but there are some species that are also edible and that are popular among several different cultures, but they have been brought over here, and they're also native haskaps or native the genus. So the Latin term for haskaps is called Lonicera, and Lonicera are also native to Canada. So there are also plants that are native to this environment.
So how is the U of S cultivating or developing them to make them even better?
I mean, we cultivate it just in the same way as any other grower would cultivate it, so in a field. But what makes us special is that we are trying to develop varieties that are superior to the existing varieties. So this means that you can focus on improving by just crossing two different accessions, two different plants that have very unique traits. You cross them and you hope that their progeny, so the seedlings that you generate, will have amazing traits too. And oftentimes you have to generate over 10,000 new plants to get that one amazing one.
Oh, wow.
So what we do is we basically evaluate plants to see which are superior. We cross the best for each trait, and then we hope that the progeny will have superior traits.
When you're talking about superior traits, are you talking about flavor? Are you talking about the amount of fruit it produces? What do you consider a superior trait?
I mean, there are so many traits that we could discuss them all day probably. But, when it comes to consumers, so there are maybe two groups of traits that we are focusing on. And one is consumer related traits. So the traits that are important for people to buy and to enjoy the fruit. Another group is agronomical traits, and those are traits that are important for efficient production. So we can only have commercial fruits nowadays if it is easy to produce, and that it has enough yield so to make it commercially interesting. But overall, when you look in the store, I always give an example, that you want to make a honey crisp of. I mean, I don't want to advertise any specific varieties. I worked in apples.
Apples, yeah.
With apples for a long time, but you want to make something like a honey crisp of haskap or any other berry fruit, so which is kind of large. It has that palatable, that very flavorful. I mean, it's very flavorful. It has to be big enough. It has to have nice color and shape, but also importantly, it has to store well. So we heard today from one of the previous guests that once berries go soft, nobody will eat them except of maybe some livestock. So this is one of the most important traits, so the firmness and storability, shelf life.
That's so interesting.
But there are many other traits, again, that we can look into.
Okay. Andrzej, I'm very curious, before I continue to ask you about berries, you're an apple guy. What's your favorite apple after studying apples for years? I can't not ask you.
The previous guest, the chef, she was talking about all these interesting combinations, and it's mind blowing, to see what people can do. I'm pretty simple, I try to focus on the main things, and when it comes to apples, anything that is kind of sweet and sour and has nice, crispy, firm texture, is interesting. And there are so many unique plants. You cannot just pick one, depending on what you
can.
want. No,
when you go to the grocery store, what kind of apples do you buy?
Canadian apples. If I can, I buy Canadian apples. Yeah.
You still didn't answer my question. What variety do you buy? I like Red Delicious. I can tell you I like Red Delicious. I also like an Ambrosia apple.
Okay, yeah, I like them too. Yeah, I like Ambrosia. I like Honeycrisp. I like John Gold. I don't know if you know John Gold over here. Probably you do. I like kind of sour, a little bit sour, but also sweet. Not too sour. I'm kind of mainstream when it comes to this thing, so I don't really have any specific.
Have you had an opportunity to get out and do berry picking while you've been here?
We work with that huge field on 50 acres. There is the U of S fruit program has a history of over 100 years. Mm-hmm. And that long history is associated with collecting very unique germplasm that is probably one of a kind in the global sense. And, one should go out there and try many different things. We are trying to maintain that. That's one of the aspects. And another aspect is we try to research. And for that, we need to know what is growing out there. So we have to try many things. And also, we try to breed new varieties. So we try to bring new knowledge and new varieties to the market so that people on Canadian prairies and also globally have more diversity and more access to fruits. I can give you one very interesting piece of data, or maybe two. So an average person here in Canada would eat about 70 kilos of fruit per year. Mm-hmm. But the production of fruit on the prairies is pretty low. So less than 1% of all the area dedicated to farming are actually fruit farms. So there is a lot of potential to develop local production, and we have heard how much excitement there is about around fruits grown here and that are native over here, such as haskap and Saskatchewan berries and other fruit species that are grown here and developed here at the U of S, which is pretty amazing. We should really appreciate what we have over here. But to answer your question briefly, we try a lot of fruit and it's pretty good.
So your research, though, is different from, say, Vito. Like, they're not sampling what they're trying. When you're out in the field picking the produce that you're going to be researching, do you get to sample your research project? Do you get to eat the berries too?
It depends what we use them for, but overall, there is a few thousand different plants, genetically different plants. So these are like you and me. We are to some degree, or like me and my brother, or whoever. We are somewhat related, but we are not identical. I mean, I have an identical twin, so we are kind of genetically identical.
Of course you do.
But genetically, we are not identical, but we are all to some degree related, and that's what we have out there. And every plant is different, and we don't know why it's special for, and we need to identify those that have those unique flavors. So, but when you think about tasting 1,000 berries, or even I think this summer we tried maybe 5,000.
Wow.
That's just it can hurt your teeth.
It's a lot of acid. That's a lot of acid.
Yeah. It's sometimes
But what a terrible chore for you to taste all that delicious fruit.
I mean, you should come and visit us sometime, because some of those berries they actually have very interesting flavors. Some haskaps, they taste like tonic.
Oh, really?
They are very bitter.
Yeah.
And then some fruits are astringent and tart, just like you mentioned before. So you have everything. You have all kinds of stuff.
Well, I have so enjoyed learning about what we're working on at the University of Saskatchewan and your research. Thank you so much for just giving us some of the background into what goes on and the way we find these new fruits in our grocery stores and fruit stands locally. Thanks so much for your time, Angie.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Have a good day.
You too. Andrzej Shavara is an assistant professor and fruit breeder at the University of Saskatchewan. Back to your emails. Crystal says, I love berries so much. My favorite is the raspberry, a perfect balance of sweet, tart, and juicy. In my teens and 20s, I used to can them and make cordial when friends and family had a fabulous patch. They are still a delight right off the bush. You just have to work for them and brave the scratches. Saskatoons, though, make the best pie and are a close second. I often add some haskap to my Saskatoon pies, which gives them a little more juice. As a child growing up in northeast Saskatchewan, there were several strawberry U-picks. I don't think I've tasted strawberries as good as those. Nothing at the grocery store compares. I wish strawberry U-picks were still a thing. Sadly, I haven't found any for a decade, but I now live near Regina. I hope everyone enjoys the berries this season. That from Crystal in Regina. Let's go to our last guest of the show. Our next guest says he wants to be in the berry business until he drops. Tony Kustiak is the owner of K5 Market Farm Products. They have a big market garden in Shellbrook, but you can also find Tony at the Saskatoon Farmers Market. That's where the 84-year-old is selling wild products like berries from northern Saskatchewan. Tony is on the line with us now. Welcome to Blue Sky.
Hey, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks for making some time for us. How did you first get into the berry business?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but to make it short, I've always, when I grew up with my parents, we used to go picking berries when I was probably 8 or 10 years old. We'd pick high bush cranberry and wild Saskatoon and any other fruit that was available at that time, including wild strawberries and wild raspberries. So that kind of stayed with me. And then eventually I got a whole lot of interest in it and started foraging for the same kind of product in northern Saskatchewan. And we have been very fortunate in a number of years to be able to collect large volumes of particularly wild blueberries, low bush cranberry, which is really a lingonberry, as well as strawberries and raspberries and high bush cranberry. So it's kind of, I kind of grew up with that, and I still look forward to doing it to this day.
Tony, where do the berries you sell now come from?
Northern Saskatchewan. Most of them come from areas anywhere from La Loche, Clearwater Lake Park, Buffalo Narrow, Dillon, and Hall Lake and that area. So we have contacts in all those places, and they alert us to, they call me and say, hey, the berries are ready. So we usually use the local radio station out there and advertise that we will be out there to look for berries, and the people go ahead and pick them ahead of time for us.
How has wildfire season affected things this year? Because a lot of those locales that you just listed either were under evacuation or had some pretty serious fire damage.
Well, I'm afraid that may have a diverse effect on the berry production this year. Although I did have a call from a berry picker in La Loche here just lately, and he said the low bush cranberry or the lingonberry is looking very good. So not all the areas have burnt, but I suspect that many areas have burned. So our gathering might be quite small this year. I don't know yet.
You've been doing this for decades. What keeps you going? Why keeping the business going at 84 years old?
I don't know. It just a habit, I guess, or a disease. It's something that I grew up with and something that I really enjoy. I love doing it. We go out and we pick even sour cherries at other orchards in Saskatoon and so on, and we have these available at the farmers market all season long.
What is it that you love about selling wild berries? Is it the actual gathering and selling of them, or is it the interaction you have with your customers?
I have a wonderful rapport with my customers. My customers phone me, and if I'm not there, they say, "Oh, I haven't seen you for a long time. How you doing?" and so on. And of course, I love doing what I'm doing. I love gathering, collecting those berries and selling them, and particularly very interested in and love meeting the people that come to buy.
Tony, how can people find you if they want to buy wild berries from you or just want to meet you after this incredible career you've built for yourself?
Well, most of them have my phone number, or they know how to contact me, and actually they call me here at home and they order berries, and I will, get them ready for them and deliver them either to Prince Albert or Saskatoon when I go there, and so on.
Tony, it has been a joy chatting with you today. Best of luck through the rest of berry season, okay?
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Of course.
I hope it's a good one.
I hope it's a good one for you, too. Tony Kustiak is the owner of K5 Market Farm Products, 84 years old, and still selling wild products like berries from northern Saskatchewan. He has a big market garden in Shellbrook, but you can also find him at the Saskatoon Farmers Market. I have loved hearing so much about your love of berries. Matthew has an email into us. It says, I love eating Saskatoon berries off the bush and raspberries. Only once or twice have I found huckleberries, but there were only enough to eat right there, and that was heaven. For jam or cobbler recipes, my favorite and what my mom always made is half and half Saskatoon rhubarb. I discovered many years later that mom didn't really like Saskatoon berries and only made the mixture to feed her family, 5 kids and dad, during the years when money was tight. Hence, we pick Saskatoon berries as a family every year. That from Matthew in Saskatoon. Thank you all so much for sharing your berry love, berry hacks, and berry joy with us today.